Hey horror fans, thanks for joining me for this review of Candyman. 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 Alright, say it plenty of times, so if I'm doomed by the end of this review, you guys will know it first, I guess. Um, anyway, cast and crew information down below, and let's get this IMDb summary out of the way. A sequel to the horror film Candyman. See, there we go. 1992, they returned to the now gentrified Chicago neighborhood where the legend began. Yes, going all the way back to the beginning. Alright, so another horror movie, new release that was basically suffered because of coronavirus apocalypse and pushed off, and now horror fans finally have gotten a chance to see, or hopefully you guys have seen Candyman. For those who haven't and might be watching this review, I'll try to be as spoiler free as possible since this is a new one, but I do have a couple of points to make. I know sometimes I ramble on these reviews, but this time I think I had a couple of things I want to get off my chest as far as this movie's concerned. I guess the first thing here is mentioned it is a sequel, and I know as horror fans and those who are maybe in the same kind of bracket as me, loving the 80s horror movies and so forth, and maybe a little frustrated with so many remakes and these so-called sequels as excuses to not make a remake. Here we go again. I don't, get this whole notion that, there's other Candyman movies that were made. We're supposed to forget those, I guess, or just, I don't know, just like Halloween. They tell us, we're supposed to forget all the other sequels, that we just got the real sequel, and now we're having another two more, and this is the way to go, and I just don't understand that as a horror fan and as a lover of. There's plenty of people out there that love some of these movies and sequels and so forth. I don't know how you can tell fans to just forget them or kind of put them out of the mind or whatever. I mean, it's fine for the new generation of horror fans and so forth who maybe don't know or don't have this attachment that some of the people like me have to them. But like, take a Halloween 3. Some people really love that movie. Some people don't. Some people really hate it. Everybody's confused about where Michael Myers is in that. Such a talked about sequel of that franchise, and you were just supposed to forget it. Okay, whatever. I don't understand. But anyway, here we are. We're at another so-called sequel many years later, taking us back to the same neighborhood, but this neighborhood has changed, and I guess money has moved into the neighborhood and the surrounding area, and has kind of pushed out some of the people that used to live there, and kind of making it hard on those who are kind of staying around. The first of several kind of messages in this movie, and if you're someone who like me, who lives in a big city, I've seen it happen. So while I'm not personally affected, I see and I know what the movie is talking about and where they're going with there. So it is one of the messages of this movie, and I'll touch on that in a little bit. So you have the main character, the one they're following here, is Anthony, and he's moving into this area with his girlfriend, and he's an artist. So kind of thinking of what happened in my area, I know that some of these areas, kind of go to that kind of like the artsy kind of thing in that vibe, or at least we have one area here that's kind of done that. So he's part of it, and but when they move in, he's kind of struggling. He's kind of writers have writer's block. I don't know what artists call it, but he's struggling to come up with his next piece and what he wants to kind of paint next. And then he's there with some friends, and one of them kind of springs about the story of the Candyman. And this kind of plants the seed in his head. And then after this party, whatever, he starts doing some research and digging up some dirt on Candyman, and goes and does some investigation, and runs into another person who's been in the neighborhood for a long time, and that person really kind of opens the door to Candyman for him. I'm still here, so we're doing good. Anyway, this, then he starts kind of having visions, and the Candyman, I guess, aura starts coming forth, and opens the door for us to be terrified by Candyman once again. Being spoiler free, I'm going to kind of leave it at that, and leave it there as far as what happens after this. But I think that kind of points you in the right direction of where this is going to go. I guess, one of the things going into this movie is, was a lot of talk was Tony Todd. Was he going to be Candyman again? Who's Candyman? Is it going to be one of these actors? Is it Anthony? Is it somebody else in this story? Who is the Candyman here? And I think that one of the things that's disappointing about this movie is that doesn't really matter, because they just don't show him that much. The Candyman is hidden throughout most of this movie. You're obviously going to know when his presence is there. There are times where when people are dying, you might see him in the mirror, you might see him in a reflection, you might see him on a projection, but he's really absent, and to me that's a disappointment on a couple of levels. One, if you think back to Tony Todd in the original, and one of the things why he's known for this role and known so much and everybody loves him for Candyman is that he was truly a frightening character. Him there, and you see him with the bees and with the hook and the coat, and just some of the speeches he gave and some of the lines he gave, just really frightening and creepy, and really bringing out the Candyman and the fear in him. And in this movie, you just, there's voices and they kind of have that, it's almost more like the Candyman's a ghost, and you're kind of getting that ghostly fear of him. Or like there's like maybe a time where Anthony's alone, and like a weird thing kind of starts happening here or there, and you're like, okay, well, here comes the Candyman and so forth. And there's a scene where you see a hook, but where is the Candyman? And I think that's largely disappointing. It's like, why have a Nightmare on Elm Street and not show Freddy? Or why have Friday the 13th and not have Jason? I mentioned Halloween 3, and I guess if you want to bring that as an example, okay. But I don't know. I want to see, the movie's titled Candyman. I want to see Candyman. I don't want to see him hiding. They do this puppet thing. I think if you guys have seen the trailer or pictures for it, they've done this puppet thing, and they use it kind of first in the beginning, and then they use it kind of when they're discussing things in the past with Candyman and so forth. It's cool. I mean, it's interesting. It's a different way to do things. Maybe they flashing back to the original movie, maybe that's something they couldn't do, and who really needs to do that? I mean, we know. Anytime they kind of go back, I guess it's for that new generation that's watching, who, I feel sorry for them because they really didn't get to see much of the Candyman here. They're kind of getting frightened by something that's not there. And hopefully, if the new generation, whenever saw this, hopefully they'll go back and watch the original and get a true frightening Candyman experience via Tony Todd. So yeah, that's kind of disappointing. Not to say the kills aren't okay, but I would have preferred, more of that he's there moment. I think the first two people that are killed is pretty good and brutal. Again, he's largely there but not there. Like I mentioned, there's a scene in a bathroom where you get to see kind of a reflection off another mirror, and so the audience is going to get the gist that obviously it's Candyman who's doing it, but you just don't see Candyman. And if I guess they wanted to hide that secret, whether it was Tony Todd, whether it was Anthony, whether it's another character in this movie, who's the real Candyman, I guess if that was their goal, to kind of hide that all the way as far as they could, whatever. I guess you have the flip side of it, and I can see the other side of the argument where, you have movies like Halloween and Friday the 13th, and you have Jason and Michael who both wear masks. So you can change those actors as long as they're kind of fitting the body statue or whatever. You can change those actors. They're not talking and nobody sees their face. So you can do different movies, all kinds of different actors, and it's not making a huge difference. Whereas we've seen with Nightmare on Elm Street and with Hellraiser, it's a little more difficult. Audiences are going to know that that's not Robert. Audiences are going to know that's not Doug. Audiences are going to know because not only do you see the face, but you hear the voice, and those are two hard things to replace when you have iconic characters. For those of us who have gone through the Nightmare on Elm Street experience and saw the remake, we see the problem there. For those of us who have unfortunately seen some of the latest Hellraiser movies, that's a big problem, but not the only problem with those movies. And now we have some more Hellraisers coming out, and as far as I know, Doug is not in those, so we'll see what to make of this. But to me, it's a problem, and I think to horror fans of my generation and whatever, it is a problem to overcome. And it's a hard thing to overcome because people are so attached and love those people, those actors, and those actors playing those characters, and the way they play those characters. Not to say no one can ever play those characters, but it's a hurdle. So maybe creatively even though Tony Todd is there, maybe because of it's years later, and things are changed regardless. Whether he is or isn't, they didn't want to show him that much because of that difference or whatever. I don't know. I don't know what the creative thinking is overall, or they didn't want people to complain. If he's not the Candyman, they didn't want people to complain, hey, he's not the Candyman, and go through all this, which I'm sure tons of horror fans would be doing, no matter who it was and how spectacular a job they did. There would always be horror fans around, so maybe they want to go that route. Or, maybe they just want to surprise people, say, hey, here he is, and whatever. I don't know what the thinking is there, the reasons why. But I just think the movie's entitled Candyman. I want to see Candyman. And, that's one of the issues I have with this movie. I kind of like the opening and how they brought back Candyman and so forth. I think, when the movie kind of switches and kind of hits into gear midway and through, there's a lot of references to the old movie, which is cool. There's mentions, they talk about Helen and so forth, and kind of as you ease into Candyman coming back, that's cool. But then I think, in the back half of the movie, you really start to get, that's where the excitement should be. That's really where you should be seeing Candyman. I mean, if he's really going to make an appearance, and so forth. Again, there's some death, and you really have to wait to those final moments before you actually get who Candyman is. But I think by that time the audience should figure out who is Candyman. Not acting wise and other, and who in this movie, but I think it's just a little too late. And then I think on top of that, when you get to the end of the movie, you're getting a lot of the messaging at the end of the movie, You see it coming early on, and it's sprinkled in throughout. But then I think, in one of the final scenes there, again, I'm being spoiler free, so I don't want to give it away, but you're getting up a good another notion of it in that final scene. And here's my other point I want to make about this. And if you follow my reviews and so forth, you know that I'm a blood and guts guy. I like that first and foremost. And with blood and guts movies, you don't always need a message in a movie. You can just throw a bunch of people there, have a killer come out and kill them all for whatever the hell reason. You don't need the biggest story in the world. It doesn't have to be too complicated. And, it can work and not work, blah, blah. That's fine. But then you have other horror movies that like to sprinkle in a message, about society, about the environment, about whatever. There's something going on that they want to get across to the audience, and that's fine. Some movies are more message oriented than others, and that's fine. We've seen over the last couple of years so many great movies be able to have a message in there and not interfere with the movie and still get their point across. And mix match. Sometimes it's all about the message, but still be able to do a good movie around it. And it's no stranger to being in a horror movie. You go all the way back to the Universal monsters and take a character like Frankenstein on, and what he says about that time period and about having friends and so forth, and you can drag that all the way up to now. So having a message in horror is not a new thing, and that's not what I'm complaining about here. I just really think that, and I understand the message, and it's a great message what they're trying to get across in this movie. I don't have a problem with the message. I just would have rather them not to do it in this movie. Yes, it is Candyman. Yes, you have this message. Yes, a lot of people are going to see it because it's the Candyman, and that's terrific. So you bring Candyman in, and Candyman's going to draw people, and you got your message in the movie, and everybody's going to see this message because it's the Candyman. Fantastic. And again, I don't have a problem with the message they said in the movie. It's an important message. Get it out there. That's fine. But I guess the true horror fan in me, and I'm speaking horror fan first in me, and says you've had Candyman on the sideline for a long time now. You bring him back. Let's really revive him horror wise, and if that's what you're doing here, and you bring him back all this time, bring Candyman back. We want to see Candyman, do him right, do his thing, and let him go. We don't really see Candyman that much. We really have to wait till late in the movie to actually discover who he is, and then you're going to have this message just, on top of, when we're going to see Candyman. And I understand, in the first movie, is a lot, has message there too. I'm not oblivious to that fact either. Obviously, they talk a lot about society and so forth in that movie as well. It's not a missed point, and I get all of that. But, I'm just saying that you wait, we haven't had Candyman all this time, you bring him back, from a horror fan perspective, let's do horror, let's bring Candyman back and let's do his thing. You could have done it and had a little, the same messages in there and maybe just done them a little bit lighter, kind of like the first one. I don't know, I thought it was just, especially at the end, it was just the message was too there, and I guess, part of it is that we're living in it now too, and you can't really escape it if you turn on the TV and so forth. So, you've turned on the TV, you see it, you blah, 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 and you turn on the movie, you see it, blah, 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 and, maybe it's just me, maybe it's just, a little much. Again, I stress, I don't have a problem with the message, it's an important message, it needs to be out there and so forth. I would have just preferred it not to be there where it was. Jordan Peele is behind this movie. He's such a hot meme right now. I really think he could have done any kind of original piece. and with the same message within another horror movie. Could have been named anything. I mean, I think even if you look at his, Get Out and Us, there's plenty of message there, plenty of original story there, and he's able to get his point across. Why not do it again? I think it's just that much easier, or that much more original, that much more cool to see the message come across in a more original standpoint than let's drag up the Candyman in order to put out this message. Because after watching everything that takes place in this movie, I must think that they had the message they want to get across, they had the story they want to get across with the message, and let's just use the Candyman to do it. And just again, being the horror fan in me, being a fan of Candyman, I just would rather them not. I would rather them see if the message was important and that's what they really wanted to do here. I would have preferred an original piece and throw the same message in there as well, and put Jordan Peele's name on it, and people would go see it. You can argue, maybe a little bit less, maybe even more, if it was just Jordan Peele, but people would have gone and seen it. I think he's done enough with Get Out and Us that audiences would have still seen whatever it is that he would have put out there, and it would have been fine. So hopefully that came out the right way. Hopefully I didn't piss anybody off, but if I did, I'm sorry. It's just where I'm coming from, and like I said, it comes from a place of a horror fan first, and kind of ignoring the outside world and so forth. So yeah, at the end of the day, I wasn't. I didn't get what I wanted out of Candyman. I'm not sure what I wanted. I'm not sure I really needed this movie to begin with, which is a whole another problem. Because if you know me, I'm just some of these remakes and sequels and blah blah. I'm watching them, but are they really needed at the end of the day? I don't know. It's I guess the whole new generation needs them, and maybe the older generation doesn't. I don't know. But anyway, I guess that's that for Candyman. I'm alive. I'm still here. We'll see what happens afterwards. I'm sure I've said his name a million times by now. But anyway, so with that, I think I'm just gonna have to give this 2.5 pools of blood. I'm just, the movie, like I said, acting is fine. It's well done. It has its moments. Not truly as scary as the original, and I think I've said that. Just lacking in those true Candyman moments that I really wanted, and you just have to wait way too long before you really get to Candyman, and it just doesn't have the same impact. Whether they're going to do another Candyman after this, I would hope not. Obviously, if they did, maybe, now that everybody knows who the Candyman is, maybe they could do something more to, what the original is, and bring him forth and bring in those scares and so forth. But, I don't know. I would be okay if they just, left it. They brought it back, they did it, blah, blah, that's it. The neighborhood's changed, times have changed, and that's it. Candyman is going to haunt that neighborhood forever, and that's it. So, yeah. Before I dig myself any bigger of a hole here. 2.5 pools of blood for this one. We'll see. I guess Halloween Kills is the next big one, sequel-wise, going back in time-wise, and so forth. We'll see what they have for us. So with that, horrorsgoryreviews.blogspot.com is where you can find more reviews, written, and the video reviews are there as well. But if you just want the video reviews, subscribe to the channel. Always appreciate wherever you're getting the reviews, whether it's the written ones or the video ones or both. Twitter, Facebook information down below as well. And you can reach out to me, talk about this movie, other movies, If you want me to review something, you can reach out to me there. Twitter's probably a little bit better than Facebook, but either way is fine. Or in the comment section, comment on this video, and comment on the movie. Leave your comments there about the video or something I've said, and so forth. I can take it whether it's good or bad. And yeah, we'll see. I'm gonna turn this off, and we'll see if I live. So with that, I'll catch you on the next review, horror fans, if I live.